So here we are at the GCVI Summit, I standing for innovation, and it's my honor to welcome Kira, Chief Innovation Officer of RingCentral, to the stage to talk about the approach of the organization and the use of CVC as a tool to source innovation outside the parent. Ian Gurney of Sierra Ventures is going to join us as well to facilitate the conversation, and thank you both powerful women for joining the stage today at the GCVI Summit. We are excited to hear your thoughts. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final day here at GCVI. Super excited. My name is Ann Greeny. As Christina mentioned, I am from Sierra Ventures. We're an early-stage venture capital firm in Silicon Valley, and really excited to be here with Kira. So we're talking about innovation and the race to respond. So a little bit about Kira. So she is the Chief Innovation Officer at RingCentral, and she leads not only the corporate venture side, but she's also leading strategy, marketing, and everything else in between, it seems sometimes. Prior to that, she was also, which many people don't know, she was also a founder. She's founded 2 companies, her first one being acquired by Hearst, and the second one also being a unicorn that got acquired. So I want to start first with Kira talking a little bit about how you think about innovation. And obviously AI has taken a lot of the oxygen in the room this year, but you've written a great article about this. Like, for corporations, what do they need to think of first when they're thinking of adopting AI?
So hello, everyone. And for those of you who don't know who RingCentral is, let me just start with that. We're a global communication and collaboration company. We serve over 400,000 customers worldwide. 60% of Fortune 1000 customers are our customers. And our portfolio includes phone, message, video, product, contact center, and virtual events. And we are known in the world as the leading and probably #1 specifically in cloud communications when it comes to phone. Nobody matches our reliability, which is super important when your mission critical systems are your phones, and for many of you they are. And our availability is that of less than 6 minutes per year, which basically puts us at 99.999, hard to match. So with that, our approach, and I've been at RingCentral for a very long time, and I was actually an early adopter of RingCentral for when I was starting my companies, not Octane though, which by the way I co-founded was one of the managing directors of Sierra Ventures, and we have joint investments together. So now getting to Ann's question, you got to think about AI as AI doesn't make decisions for people really, at least for knowledge workers. AI enables people to make decisions. And so with that, the way that we think about AI, and I've written about that, is about people-first approach to AI. So what does that mean? That means that AI, when you incorporate it into your organization, is about enabling people to work the way they want to work. And of course, that means that making them more efficient, making them more productive, making them happier with what they do is part of that journey. So a lot of AI applications today are thought of, we're going to take the cost out, we're going to move faster, and all of that is true, but taking the cost out also means bringing your workforce along the way, because if you lose them somewhere behind, you're probably not going to make the kind of progress that you want in long term. And so to be concrete, what do we mean by enabling people to make decisions? From RingCentral's point of view, we're a communications company, so what can we do to enable that? Well, we can enable you with things like meeting transcripts, taking notes for you when you're on a phone or you're in a video meeting, summarizing your chats, bringing together the front and the back office of the organization so that they communicate better, they collaborate better, and putting knowledge right in front of those who need knowledge at the right time, such as when the agent is on the phone, they don't have to look up customer name. It stores the information for them, identified on based on who's calling, and beyond that, it really guides them along the line through a conversation, then does a disposition into a CRM system, and then basically tells you what the tasks are so that you can communicate better with your manager. Those are just examples of taking people-first approach to bringing AI into your organization.
Yeah, I love your take on the people-first approach. I think a lot of organizations get that wrong and just feeling like they need to adopt AI quickly and bolting it on. What methodologies or metrics do you believe are the most effective in evaluating the success of some of these AI implementations that you do at RingCentral?
So it really depends. It's case specific. I don't think there's one way to measure AI. We all talk about, of course, efficiency, cost savings, productivity. Right? Those are all measures. So what does it mean? So let's take an example. Instead of having agents on the phone, you now have an IVA, an interactive voice assistant, answering your questions, whether they're on the phone, they come into you over chat. So how do you measure that? You measure that in how accurate, number one, the responses are. Because if the accuracy is low, you're not only not solving the problem, you're creating the problem. So that would be number one. Number two would be how many agents can I now enable to increase customer satisfaction, to do better, do their jobs better. So what does it mean? Increase customer satisfaction. So you can measure customer satisfaction scores. Those are just some examples of how you make it very use-specific, use case specific, because that is really, I think, the way that you have to measure. There's no, like, I don't know how to apply it in one swooping sort of say, that's the measure.
Yeah, and so at RingCentral specifically, when did you first, as a team, start feeling the need to adopt AI, and what was that process like internally? Did that come from your team? Did it come from product or?
Well, it came, so I used to run product. So when I ran product, one of the very first things, product and engineering, way back, we're talking like 5 years back, we realized that the technology is emerging. This was kind of early stages of large language models, early innings of being able to process a lot of information to be able to come out with some meaningful outcomes, such as summarizing conversations, for example. So we as a product company set out on that journey way back and actually acquired a company in 2019 to be able to summarize your video conversations and video meetings. And that was the beginning of our journey in terms of our product roadmap. Now, everything that RingCentral builds is basically either AI first or AI infused. And we can talk about what do we mean and how we differentiate our AI from everybody else, because every company kind of now sounds like you've got AI because you have to. So that's one aspect of it. Now, as part of my venture activity, one of the very things that I started to do when we started the fund is relatively new. It's only 3 years old. Started in 2021. Was to basically look at a bunch of companies that would inform our innovation agenda and put us ahead of competition with partnerships with the companies that we invest in. Sure, it takes a long time, especially if you're investing early, but the wonderful thing about entrepreneurs is they're way ahead of even as innovative companies as RingCentral. And so that became kind of a way for us to adopt a lot of partners. And a lot of these partners, so for example, for compliance, we have a partnership with a company that does a wonderful job of being able to, called Theta Lake, of being able to discern improper content in your conversations, any kind of digital conversation. So that's one aspect of it, through venture track. And then the other, bringing in a lot of technology into our business units, whether you're in finance or you're in customer support or you're in sales. There are technologies that enable you to run your business better with AI-based technologies. And to provide examples, we initially adopted a third-party technology to enable our sales intelligence. We now have a product of our own. And so that was one of the ways that we brought AI into the company. And today, I don't think there's an aspect of the business, and I know we're on marketing, and trust me, the marketing organization has really embraced AI because, every time you write something, you'd be amiss if you didn't put it through some sort of ChatGPT, safely, securely, of course, to help you along.
So you're in a unique position because you've not only sat on multiple teams and run multiple teams at RingCentral. So how do you think about whether, when you have a problem that you're looking for a solution, whether you invest, build, or buy a company? What does that thought process work for you and for the team? And are there some struggles in trying to figure out, do we invest in a company that helps us and partner? Do we buy a company to do this, or do we just build it ourselves?
That's always a struggle. It's always, you kind of have to look at always whether what's important to you, what's the decision criteria? Is it time to market? If it's time to market, then you're probably going to partner. Is it something that's strategic? Then you may want to partner short term, then you would want to acquire it or build it. You also have to look at your core competencies. No company can build it all. It is impossible. So if it is your core competency and you believe that you can do this better and faster than anybody else, then you should build it. And you have the resources to do it. If it is expanding your TAM, for example, and you may not have all the expertise, then you should look at partnering and ultimately acquiring. And of course, question is, when do you acquire and the reason for acquisition? If it's a technology enablement feature or adjacent product that you want to add on, something like a tuck-in, then you want to look at a smaller company where you're actually buying technology. If it's truly something that's expanding your TAM, you might want to look at a later stage company that's already got a run rate, that's got people who know how to sell the product, because no matter how great your company at selling your product, selling a new product is always a challenge. So those are some of the decisions that you have to make. And so when we look at companies from ventures perspective or corporate perspective, we evaluate that against that criteria. And the product team is deeply involved, and all aspects of the business are deeply involved. Our general decision making is inclusive.
Now, I know you're always looking ahead of the curve. You've been a member of CRO's CXO board for years and always kind of looking down the line to see what potentially is coming. Given the rapid evolution in AI, how do you think the future of work is going to be changed in the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a great question. I'll give you my futuristic view, which is kind of just, it's fun. And we talked about this at dinner with a few folks last night. I think many of us are, whether we like it or not, are going to be sitting in goggles and living in a virtual world. That's my futuristic approach. The reality of it is, I think we'll take small incremental steps to get there, and maybe it won't be the goggles, maybe you'll be in fully encompassing experience that nobody has imagined yet. And that's the beauty of innovation, is that sometimes you just can't imagine what's ahead until some entrepreneur comes up with it. But in terms of kind of where RingCentral can help, it's about communication, it's about collaboration, it's about making people more productive, more efficient. So more ways of doing your job in a way that allows you to engage in an experience versus actually typing on the keyboard. We're used all to doing our jobs, and there are people in the audience, like people are typing, they're on their phones. Really, you should be looking at the recorded version of this maybe potentially later. I don't know if this event is recorded. And maybe you can just get a snippet of what was said here. You don't really need to hear the entire conversation. Were there any takeaways from that? And that's what's really you all want to hear. So I believe that the future of work will be a lot about sort of consuming information in a way that that is much more experience-based than sort of how we know it today, where you have to, decipher long documents or listen to long conversations, and therefore, you kind of have to look at it in terms of, well, what does the person-to-person communication look like? And the person-to-person communication looks like that you probably, again, don't want to be typing on a keyboard when you're looking and taking notes. Something else should be taking notes for you. You probably, when you talk to an airline company, there are airline companies here today, you want to talk to a robot that doesn't sound like a robot. You want to feel like you don't have to press operator, solve my problem. I really want to change my flight and this thing is not giving me the right option. These are just some mundane examples, but I think it starts with mundane, and if I wanted to look at sort of more what really gets me excited is I think the changes will be in how you interact with your doctors. What does it mean to go to a doctor? And what does it mean for people who today are disadvantaged and cannot get to the kind of care that like some of us in this room are able to get? So I'm hoping that what AI will do as it changes the way that we work and the way that we go about our everyday lives is it raises the standard of living for the people who today are truly disadvantaged because of cost of technology.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's so well said. And, on your first point around even just meeting people, and, I know that like several people in this room who are investors as well, when we transitioned quickly during COVID to having everything online, now we're seeing, as a firm, we're saying, hey, we got to go back and meet people in person and go back and have coffees and have those conversations to really understand if founders, who they are before we write checks. And so I think that there is this balance that's going to come, and then as well with, as we evolve from just having these one-on-one Zoom conversations to something more. I want to talk a little bit about how you at RingCentral work with early stage startups. And I know that you've been a terrific design partner for some. So how do you think about that process, and what are some of the advantages and maybe even disadvantages to doing that?
I think working with startups is always an advantage. So that's number one, because the world today, what drives us, technology drives our progress in many ways, and entrepreneurs are at the forefront of it. So the way that we work with entrepreneurs, we talk to a lot of companies, and we talk to them to learn, to look for opportunities to invest, partner, maybe have more strategic relationships. And we also want to give back. So I never want to have a conversation with a startup just to learn, because I feel like for a startup, having been an entrepreneur, that 1 hour or half an hour is so precious. And you got to do so many of those meetings to raise funding, to attract customers. So we want to be a true partner from the get-go. And so partially how we work is we have a lot of follow-up meetings. So let's say we met with a startup, it looks interesting, we provided them with some advice. We'll do a follow-up, let's say 6 months, and follow progress and see if the progress matches what they've said they would do. And then as part of that journey, depending on their stage, if they're super early, then it's probably too early to introduce them to our other business units. But if they're far along to be at that stage where I feel like, okay, time maybe to expose them to potentially, the sales organization, the sales enablement organization, the marketing operations organization, then we'll set up those meetings, and my partner Vinayak is in the audience, and he does a lot of that work, and we'll curate it. We'll absolutely curate it, and for those where we make investments, we will do our best to help them be a RingCentral partner, either be a vendor, be an ISV partner, some sort of a relationship that benefits them. And benefits us, of course, but really, I want to be cognizant of being a good partner to the companies we invest in.
This is why we always send you our portfolio. But and absolutely, having worked in early stage for so long, sometimes those corporate introductions can be painful for a startup, because they get so excited about the potential, and to get to a result might take a while, but the one thing that everyone in this room has is always introductions to other people, and those can be game-changing for a startup. Really quick, we only have a little less than a minute left. For RingCentral on the venture side, what type of companies are you looking for today?
We're looking for companies that will complement what we do. So communication, collaboration, contact center, virtual events, hybrid events. So anything that helps us. So I gave an example like of a compliance security company. So with the AI being sort of a new force that requires us to have privacy by design, compliance, and trust built into the products, that would be one area we're looking for companies to enhance our capabilities in that area. That's just one example, and we're going to be out of time. So things that enhance our portfolio are the ones that we're looking for.
Awesome. Well, Kira, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you.